Hi, everybody. I am Donal Murphy, and welcome to my podcast. I'm very sympathetic to everybody's unique layoff experience. I know that some people, when they get laid off, have to find a job very, very quickly because of financial reasons. And I am very sympathetic and empathetic to that experience. At one point in my career, I lived paycheck to paycheck, and I can certainly understand the excruciating stress that brings. So I know that experience is a reality for some people after a layoff. I know that other people lose a job that they absolutely loved with a company that they loved and are mourning and grieving the loss of that job, mourning the day-to-day experience of applying their skills and their strengths to a job, uh, losing the experience of being aligned with the mission of the company that they worked for, and also mourning the experience of the camaraderie and the friendships and the professional relationships that they built during their time at the company. And so those people I know are looking to get back into the workforce quickly, doing the same job for the same type of company as they did. And then there are people who, who are like me, who look at their layoff as an opportunity to actually stop and pause and think about their career up until that point in time and wonder if they should continue to do that or if they should look and do and pursue something else. I wish I could remember who to attribute this to, but somewhere in the last several months, I either heard or read somebody say that they had a very successful career, but they were chasing nothing at all. And that was certainly my experience at my last job, at least in the last year or two of me being in the job. I was very successful and impactful in the job, but I was essentially chasing nothing at all. I had grown comfortable with the salary that I was paid, the environment that I was in, the job that I could do with my eyes closed. And I was surrounded by wonderful people who I loved working with day in, day out, but I was chasing nothing at all. And so when I got laid off, I hit the pause button and started to reflect, what is that thing that will allow me that sense of chase, that sense of purpose, that sense of mission. And so I worked with a career coach. And this is what this episode is about. This episode is about what career coaching looks like, what the experience is like, what kind of career coaching services there are. And hopefully, in the process of this episode, you will get to hear all about career coaching and make a determination as to whether or not that's something that you should pursue. It was something that I definitely really appreciated and valued because I came out the other end of my career coaching with a great sense of purpose, a great sense of direction, understanding what I wanted to do and understanding what my talents and strengths were that I could offer my next employer. So I hope you enjoy this episode, and here we go. So, welcome, JT, to the Layoffs Over Lattes podcast. I'm so delighted to have you here. You're one of my favorite people in the world. And thank you for lending your expertise to my podcast. I did want to mention a couple of things to our listeners and watchers right up front. One is the disclaimer that this podcast is produced for educational and entertainment purposes only. It does not substitute for seeking the advice and help of a professional. Unemployment and layoffs are very challenging. So if you feel like you need to seek out a licensed therapist or a medical doctor or any other professional who could help you through your unemployment journey, please do that. This podcast does not substitute for that. And even though we're going to be talking about career coaching in this episode, additionally, this does not substitute for actually working with a career coach. And what JT is going to be sharing on this episode, again, is for educational purposes only. The other disclaimer is that and lucky me, and it was a lucky day when it happened. But JT was my career coach and continues to be an amazing support. And I count my lucky stars the day that JT and I met, and we embarked on a career coaching relationship. And I may sound overblown, but it was one of the most transformational experiences of my career and my life to work with you, JT. So I'm hoping that people can kind of just get a flavor for your work and what you bring to the coaching role. So welcome. Good to have you here.
Yeah, with that, I'm like, how red am I? I'm blushing. Thank you, Donal. It's a true honor to be here. And I guess all these listeners are just really fortunate that you have put something as amazing as this Layoffs Over Lattes group together. And I'm just excited to get to share a little bit about what I do, maybe a little bit about our journey since it was, so transformative. I don't think that's overblown at all. And yeah, I'm just really honored and excited to be here. So thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. So the first question that I ask every guest on my podcast is: so you are now a successful career coach, life coach, and we'll get into the different services and products, so to speak, that you offer in your practice. But when you were a kid, what actually did you want to be when you grew up?
Gosh, it's funny. There were a few things that I wanted to be actual jobs. One of them just up front was a doctor. I always thought I wanted to be a doctor, which was hilarious because I am absolutely terrified of doctors, but also simultaneously worship them. I have white coat syndrome, as they call it, where my blood pressure and my heart rate go through the roof anytime I see a doctor. So I was pre-med in school, thought I wanted to be a doctor, but if you were to ask my parents, and when I really think about it, the most resounding thing that I wanted to be when I grew up, that I would tell people, even kids, is that I wanted to be happy. And they would say, no, but what do you want to be? And then that's when I would kind of say a doctor. But really the first answer was that I wanted to be happy.
An old soul, even
Yeah.
even young. That's great. And I think
Yeah.
isn't that what we all want? And then we just figure out what flavor of happy we want to pursue.
Amen to that. Yes, agree.
So the flavor of happy that you have pursued now, even though you came to it not later in life because you're still young, but you used to be in the genomics space, and you were a lab scientist and you were a bench scientist. But now you have your flavor of happy now, which I think you're probably intending to take you through the rest of your life. Although it's a journey, but your flavor of happy now is career coaching or life coaching. So if people are considering adding a coach to their job search toolbox, what is a coach, and what should their expectations be of kicking the tires on a coach and then ultimately working with them?
Yeah. And to be clear, a coach is not a therapist, but
Right.
sometimes I like to liken the roles in certain ways. And I think to answer your question, when you're thinking about finding a therapist or thinking about working with one, or for this matter, working with a coach, um, oftentimes it's really about that personality fit. I
Hmm.
think it's about a coach is meant to be there to help unlock and unearth things inside of us that probably are already existing, but maybe we
Mhm.
just have been too scared to unleash. or we've tried tapping into, but haven't had quite all of the tools to be able to do so. And so this person kind of serves as like a guide, a facilitator, a guru, if you will, to try to bring those things out of you. And it's done through questioning, reflections, oftentimes some hard questions. And so I brought up kind of the therapist example to say that, sometimes it's easier to do with a person, an individual that seems to get you, or that maybe
Mm-hmm.
your style and their style feels simpatico, right? Like they
Mm-hmm.
go together really well. And Donal, I know you let the audience know here that I was your coach. I think that in our journey, we very much discovered that the way that we interact, the way that we work together is like peanut butter and jelly. It goes
Mm-hmm.
well together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, could you work with a coach that maybe was more like peanut butter and sardines? Sure. And I think you could find that out along the way and you could probably still learn a lot. But I
Yeah.
think something that I would look for right off the bat is personality fit. And just kind of maybe what's that person's values, right? How does it feel when you're interacting with them? And then of course, assessing what are their offerings, how is their program structured, based upon the transition that you're in life, specifically for the folks here that are in between roles, right? Does this person have experience with helping people who have been in that particular transition before? A
Mm-hmm.
lot of that stuff probably goes without saying, but I think personality fit is a really big one that comes up for me.
And are there different flavors of coaches?
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a different flavor in terms of personality fit. And I think that was important for me too when well, the backstory for me is that I actually approached you and said, "Hey, JT, I know you're in coaching. I'm looking for some sort of structure, so I'm wanting to do it myself. So, can you recommend a book that I can work my way through?" And then you were like, "Oh, have you ever considered actually looking at it a
Yeah.
different way?" So,
Yeah.
um, so it and again, there was that kind of personality fit from the get go, but what other flavors of coaches might be out there that may be different from your practice and what we're going to get into shortly?
Yeah, definitely. There's everything under the sun. And without going too off the rails, the coaching space is actually pretty unregulated.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't believe me, you can Google that and read all the controversy that
Right.
is coaching. But I guess what I would say to that is think about all of the different methodologies that maybe you've heard of before, right? All the different types of programs or trainings or certificates that if you were in a big corporation before, maybe you went and took the crucial conversations course. Maybe you went and did disc profiling, right? Coaches can pull from any of those bags of tricks to build whatever curriculum probably that they are passionate about, that they
Mm-hmm.
feel aligned to then offer to a client. There are coaches that are very specific. I only work with X special forces,
Mm-hmm.
or armed forces
Mm-hmm.
workers or things like this. So, oh my gosh, I mean, it's a huge question to answer. Are there different flavors? Yes. Like this is Baskin Robbins, basically. There's tons of different types of coaches, tons of flavors. Now I want ice cream, but I think that's why, and hopefully we'll get to this, but most of us offer a free kind of complimentary get to know me, get to know what the heck you would be getting into in a coaching program with me call, so that you could assess and be like, oh wow, okay, yes, I am seeking clarity, I am seeking greater depth of understanding of what my purpose is. Oh, interesting, I've never really heard of emotional intelligence before.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting to me. And so it's like an informational interview for both the
Right.
coach and the prospective client.
Right. And I can imagine that it is overwhelming if somebody is starting to think about finding a coach. And I will piggyback on what you said is that if you do a Google search, there's every flavor of coach, and how do you
Yeah.
choose the right one, and the unregulated nature of it. And I think, and I to be honest with you, had some of that, and only for the fact that I knew you because we worked at the same company and got to know you as a colleague before you went out full time as a coach.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if I would have embraced your invitation to work with you as readily if you were a complete stranger, because the perception I had is like coaches, they're like, I don't know, it's just snake oil salesman kind of
Yeah.
thing. And I think it is very important for people as they're listening to this to make sure that they really kick the tires on the people that they're considering.
Yeah.
Um, and kind of, segueing into then, the kind of the flavor of coach that you are. You have certifications in terms of, again, what I experienced in my coaching with you, and I know you have other certifications. But from the perspective of career coaching, you're certified in the Gallup's Clifton Strengths Assessment. You are certified in the Simon Sinek Optimism Company Why Discovery assessment, and then also the Talent Smart EQ or Emotional Intelligence certification. So,
That's
and
right.
these are all rigorous programs. So, can you explain each one in turn, and maybe why you chose those particular three versus maybe a plethora of other certifications that are probably out there?
Yes, and at risk of being super long-winded here, I do want to double click, as they say in corporate, on one thing you just said previously, Donal, which is, it's like a snake oil kind of salesman or something. You maybe get that vibe from coaching. I
Yeah.
just want to affirm that for all of the listeners here that like I'm right there with you. It's not every day that we are walking around Earth and think, I really need a coach to help me get through this. Like, I don't really know that we've been conditioned. When you're on a sports team, okay, yes, you have a coach, and the coach tells you how to hold the bat or whatever it is that you need to do. But I think a lot of times when we're in between jobs or things like that, we just think, oh, well, it's just going to take time. And I've been in a rut like this before, so I'll get my way out of it again. And chances are you probably will. Chances are, if you work with a coach, you probably also will, and you probably will learn a bunch more about yourself along the way. But I just want to be really clear, and I just so appreciate what you said, Donal, which is like, had you not known me, you may have been a little bit more hesitant to do the big shebang, like actually
Mm.
sign up for coaching. And
Mm.
that is very common. Referrals are very common in the coaching industry,
Right.
for this very reason. So I just felt compelled to say that that feeling that you had, I don't think you're alone in
All right.
having. So if anyone else is listening right now and they're like, yeah, there's no way in hell I'd ever work with a coach. Um, I hear you and I get it. And also call me. Um, Okay, so back on topic. Clifton Strengths from Gallup. Yes, quite literally the best assessment. Let's talk about it. Simon Sinek, Why Discovery, and Talent Smart EQ, Emotional Intelligence. Why are these three the three pillars that I chose for my program, and three of a handful of things that I'm certified in that I built a 6 and/or 12-week program around? The first is because I'm all about understanding the goodness of each
Mm.
person.
Mm.
So everything in this program is built around positive psychology. So thinking about what is right with you as a human being versus what is wrong with you.
Right.
And in a world where from grade school all the way through university, where we are scrutinized for the lesser grades, the B's, the C's, do I dare say it, the D's? I didn't get any of those on a
Oh,
report
I got a
card.
few.
Thank you, Donald. Um, I want to celebrate the A's. I want to understand what are the A worthy qualities about my clients and how they can tap into those things for the greatest potential. And if you subscribe and believe in positive psychology and follow Don Clifton and Clifton Strengths, that's exactly what they believe in. So you learn your top 5, you learn your top 10 talents out of 34, and we dive into them. It looks like you have a question, Donal. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying that one of the epiphanies when working with you is that, I think it's a societal thing. I think it's ingrained in as we progress through our careers is that lean into your weaknesses, put the
Yes.
emphasis on your weaknesses. You've got your strengths, you got those dialed in. Lean into your weaknesses because that's where the growth comes. And I think the epiphany that I got and what I experienced working with you is that actually that's the wrong way of looking at it. You
Yeah.
actually lean into your strengths because they are the things that you're good at. And maybe in a team structure in a corporate setting, you've got your strengths and weaknesses, somebody else got their strengths and weaknesses, and hopefully with some conscious and mindful team structure and building, your weaknesses are somebody else's strengths and vice versa. And so then there's this, then there's cohesion, and then there's momentum and efficiency. So again, I
Yes.
just I just wanted to, that was just kind of like a light bulb moment for me when I was working with you. It's just like, God, and again, an exaggeration, but I felt like, God, I've been wasting all of these years trying to improve my weaknesses when I should have been like doubling down on my strengths.
Yeah. And spoiler alert, we all have. Like that's kind of the way of the world. At least United States, California, where I'm recording from, that's kind of been my experience in life. I also want to take it a step further because coaching for career coaching and things like that, we oftentimes focus specifically on your role. And as Donal just talked about, like how your role works with the team or the different people on the team. But this is also life. And it's incredible when we start rewiring our brains to focus on the good, to focus on the talents and to turn them into strengths rather than focusing on the weaknesses or the negatives. You start seeing it in other aspects of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't it easier and more common to wake up and think about all of the problems that you have rather than all of the blessings?
Mm-hmm.
So, part of the coaching journey, when we start focusing on strengths and focusing on the good, you start realizing, oh my gosh, I've also been focusing on the weaknesses or the negatives in other aspects of my life, like the fact that my bike, I don't know, has a flat tire or something, but let's focus on the positives. You have a bike and you can go get a pump and you can go pump it up. That was a
Right.
terrible example. But like we're so quick to go negative that it's also a retraining of the brain because most people, and you didn't really do this, Donald, so kudos. But most people in coaching get that Clifton Strengths report in the first couple of weeks with me, and they are just fixated on let's talk about my bottom 5. Let's talk about the bottom 10. And then I'm like, no, no, no. We're going to talk about your top 5, your top 10, right? But it's because we want to go there. We want to go to the inadequacies.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a beautiful life lesson to focus on the richness, focus on the good and where we want to focus our time.
So the Gallup Clifton Strengths Finder, just in terms of the mechanics of that, when
Yeah.
somebody works with you, they do the assessment with you. So, well, the person's got to do the assessment themselves, but then you help to frame and interpret the results. Is that how it works?
That's right. Yeah. So, Gallup, I cannot take credit for the IP for their incredible global assessment that's been used on, I think, over 3 million people at this point. Um, yeah, you take the assessment through Gallup. It gives you out of 34 talents, it ranks them all. It's called Clifton Strengths, kind of a misnomer. They're actually talents. You have to invest in them to turn them into strengths.
Mm-hmm.
More on that later. And then, yes, when you work with me, I help you decipher, uncover, understand how they show up in your day to day life, in your job, how you could talk to a recruiter about how this talent makes you a standout candidate. things like that. So, yep, I do the breakdown for you.
I've actually taken Clifton Strengths 3 separate times in my career.
Oh,
And what has been amazing to me is that it's based on science, because my the results of my assessment have been consistent each time I've taken them.
yeah,
And so I think to negate any sort of doubt that this is not based in science, or it's not woo woo or a cosmopolitan dating questionnaire. This is, and again, I've seen it, and it's
yep,
such a comfort for me that I took it again third time when I worked with you,
yep,
in that it was the exact same strengths, and the
yep,
strengths have always been there. And at that point, having taken a third time with you, there was that element of, okay, the guesswork is all over. For
yes,
the rest of my career, these are the strengths I'm going to lean into, and there's
yes.
such comfort in knowing that I don't have to second guess or doubt where my strengths lie.
Can I use that as the perfect launch pad to talk about Simon Sinek and
Yes.
second piece, which is the why discovery? So thank you for the beautiful layup there, Donal. And you have said in experiential terms what Gallup would say, which is if you were to retake the assessment as many times as you wanted, from age 30, take it again at 50, take it again. Now you're an empty nester, kids are out of the house, right? Whatever life changes, passing of a parent, things like that, your results will not change. And what they mostly see is maybe they shift a little bit in the top 5. So, like, consistency moves from number 1 to number 3, positivity moved from number 4 to number 2, but you're still right there. They're the same
Mm-hmm.
ones. And the reason for that is because this is innate. This is who you are as a person. And that is what the assessment assesses for, measures. Unlike I mentioned a disc profile earlier, where you're a D, you're a decision maker, you're dominant. Okay, if you were a lab tech, you probably were more of an S or a C. But then
Mm-hmm.
you became lab manager and you took disc profiling again. Now you're making the decisions. Your report's probably going to show that you're a D.
Mm-hmm.
Versus Clifton Strengths, you went from a lab tech to a lab manager. They're the same.
Right.
Those top 5, top 10, they're not moving. So the second piece, you're like, how the heck is she going to bridge this to the why discovery? The second piece, and why I'm so passionate about kind of bridging these two together, is Simon Sinek says that humans only have one why. And it's
Mm-hmm.
actually fixed in early childhood. We can understand a person's why, their deep seated purpose, cause, and belief from all of these experiences that made you, that formed you back in your childhood. So, similarly, your why also doesn't change. So, when you are working with me, I can say, oh, baby, I have my crystal ball now, right? Like, I know Donal at his core. I can understand so deeply who he is because these talents, his purpose, right? All of this is formed from years ago. And I think when we did the why discovery, you were like, gosh, like this is who I am. And there have been moments in my life where I've lived out this why, maybe more out loud or more clearly than other moments. And I can understand why I felt so uninspired or lacking motivation. And it's when I've not even been close to living my why.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and similarly, when we're not using our talents, right? We feel drab, we feel lost, we feel uninspired. So it's like this triple threat. We're going to get to EQ in a second, but like these first two are just, they are your soul. There's
Mm-hmm.
no way getting around them. So let's eat them up. Let's love on them and let's understand them because, like it or not, it's you, baby. And the world needs you.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that transpired working through my why with you and the Clifton Strengths, is that it became very apparent that I'm people oriented. I'm relationship driven, and
Yes.
that wasn't that it was showing up in my career in so far as I got to work on teams and I got to manage teams, but but it was ultimately it was just not present in the jobs that I had held previous to my layoff. And so this is very much driving, me seeking out my next opportunity where it's very focused on people. It's very focused on relationship building and
Yes.
building communities. And it's part of the reason I'm doing this podcast is that it definitely, it certainly lines up with my why and my Clifton strengths. And so the great joy in this for me, and in the kind of the irony of getting, being laid off, is that I now have an opportunity to heavily lean into my strengths and my why.
Yeah.
And that's just been amazing. So the
Yeah.
last kind of leg of the stool in terms of your practice is emotional intelligence. And why is that important?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Why isn't it important? Everyone, take the emotional intelligence assessment right now. You can buy the book. You don't even have to work with me, and you can take the EQ 2.0 assessment. Maybe Donald can drop the link for it here because I just think everyone in the world should do this. Emotional intelligence. So we talk about Clifton strengths, your talents, your strengths. We talk about your purpose. And I just told you those things are basically fixed. So then bring in the third leg of the stool here, right? The triple threat EQ. Your emotional intelligence is probably one of the only things outside of your wardrobe and your toothpaste flavor, just kidding, but probably one of the only things that you can have a meaningful impact and ability to change.
Mm-hmm.
So, when we think about EQ, I'll just teach you real quick. There are four key skills: self awareness, self management, social awareness, and relationship management. Put simply, how aware am I of what I'm experiencing, what I'm feeling? Oh, this person sent me a heinous email. Am I even aware that I feel really ticked off right now?
Right.
Self management. Number two, do I fire off a ticked off email back? Self management. How am I managing myself? Or am I choosing to step outside, get some air, or do some sort of skill to quench that feeling of anger? Social awareness. When I walk into a room, or for all of you who are gearing up to interview, right? When you get on the call or in the room with the interviewer, recruiter, whomever, hiring manager, what signals are you picking up in the room? How well can
Mm-hmm.
you kind of understand the vibe or what's going on? And then relationship management. Are there people in your life that you wish your relationship with them looked different? Wish it
Right.
was more effective, wish it was more peaceful. You can have an impact. We can't control anyone but ourselves, right? And you can work on becoming a more self aware, a better self managed, more socially aware, and a human with just incredible relationships. And if you
Mm-hmm.
think you can't do that, here's your line, call me, because you can. It's a skill that
Mm-hmm.
anyone can build. And as Donal knows, emotional intelligence is not about being nice, it's about being effective.
Right.
So when we think about it, it's how effective am I being in this job search when interfacing with all of these people across networks that I need to speak to and things like that. It's not, oh, was I extroverted? Did they like me? Do they love me? Nope. It's how was my emotional intelligence and how did that person feel after that interaction with me?
Yeah, and that was the epiphany for me too, because I equated emotional intelligence to just being nice all the time, and I'm a people
Mhm.
pleaser, and so I'm like, okay, well, I got to be nice, and I don't shouldn't rock the boat, but
Yeah.
through going through the emotional intelligence kind of portion of your methodology and your practice, that probably was the hardest part, because I do feel like there's a lot that I still have to, just understand. And
Yeah.
I don't think I'm alone, but I think that regardless of your age, your communication style and your ability to react appropriately, um, and to be self-aware is always a place of improvement. So I think whereas my why and my Clifton strengths are kind of locked in, and I'm like, yeah, those feel solid, even to this day, because we have not formally worked together for probably 3 maybe months, 4 months. But
Yeah.
anyway, it's the thing that I continue to kind of go back to and try to be aware of, and try to improve to varying levels of success. But yeah, that one was challenging, but also I felt like I needed it and still need it.
Yeah.
Um,
Me too.
one yeah. One of the things that you touched on earlier, I think in your practice, it's you can have a 6 month or a 6 week or a 12 week
Yeah.
um, kind of runway, and I guess that's yours. But when people start to think about entering into a coaching relationship, is there kind of a standard? The average is like a 12-week program. How would you
Great
what
question.
what's yeah.
Yeah. I think it is pretty standard if you look across the board. And I always advocate for the longer relationship just because I think you build better rapport. There's more time for learning and back and forth. I have clients that choose the shortened version. And I think it's still super rich, but they will also kind of self report. So I'm not making this up. That oh man, I maybe wish I had more time. And so then it's like, okay, well, life is long, hopefully. So you do
Right.
have more time to self reflect and work on these things. And now you've got all of the materials and whatnot to do so. But yeah, typically there's kind of, a 4 to 6 month version. And then, yeah, sometimes like a
and
two to
and
three month.
and that's typically meeting once a week, and then having maybe homework to do in the intervening week, and then reporting back in. And
That's right.
is there any benefit to doing this face to face or over a Zoom call?
Ugh,
Um, and again,
yes.
my experience, and I think it's a testament to just how you show up, that the vast majority of our sessions were over Zoom,
Yes.
or over video,
Yep.
and I didn't feel like I lost. We did meet a couple of times, I think, for the Y Discovery session. We met face to face because that
Yes.
was an extended. But anyway, uh, do you have? Does it matter? Does it matter face to face or
Yeah.
over a video call or virtually?
Great question. No, it does not matter. I think we are using technology for good in this instance, and it can absolutely be accomplished. Cameras on, I would say. When we
Yeah,
go through the
yeah,
emotional intelligence piece, if you become, a coaching client, you will know that camera on is very important for body
yeah,
language and
yeah.
communication style. But absolutely, it can be done over Zoom or over video chat. I will just say I love an in-person meetup. Coffee, some sort of hangout. I think it adds
Mm-hmm.
to the experience and interaction, but I don't think that, if you lived on the East Coast and your coach lived on the West Coast and you had to do Zoom, that you would miss out on anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, So, when somebody is unemployed, when somebody has been laid off, people can be expense conscious. And I just want to be mindful and respectful of the fact that people have different experiences financially when
Yes.
they're going through a layoff or going through subsequent unemployment. But what would you say to people who are assessing career coaches and assessing fee structures, and how should they approach that?
Yeah, yeah. I would say to not be afraid to share where you're at
Mm.
financially.
Mhm.
I will speak for myself, but I think I will speak for a lot of coaches when I say that if the coach is in the business for the right reason, they will want to meet you where you are.
Mhm.
And in that initial consultation that hopefully, you would do, you could understand what are the different parts of the program. You could understand what the total all in cost is. And then I would recommend just being upfront and even asking and saying, okay, I'm really interested in this piece, or I'm really interested in this piece, or maybe you're really interested in the whole thing. Um, but looking at that price point, do you accept monthly installments? Do you
Mhm.
accept that I could pay on a different cadence?
Mhm.
Money is a weird topic. Most coaches are self employed. We run our own businesses. And I will be the first one in a consultation call to say, hey, I think this is a good fit. If you want to move forward, I want to move forward. And I'm fortunate enough right now. Things can always change in life, but to be able to offer people the ability to pay as they go, or to kind of pick a la carte what pieces of my program they may
Right.
want to.
Right.
So I think just don't be shy. We understand that you're in between jobs. We all know how expensive it is to live in the world today, and a good coach will want to help you and meet you where you are. So
Right.
I would just ask.
Um, once the coursework is done,
Yes.
you've navigated through a career coaching methodology. What kinds of ongoing support should people expect from their coaches? And again, I'm sure it differs. I know,
Yeah.
again, speaking about our relationship, although the formal coaching program is over, and I think it's just a testament to who you are. You're checking in. You're like, hey, how's it going this week?
Yeah.
What's the update on the job search, et cetera. So I have found you to be, very, very supportive even after the fact. If it's just like a text, once a week. Um, but I'm sure that not all coaches are like that, or maybe they are, or other reputable ones are. But can you speak to what kind of ongoing support? And
Totally.
maybe even you talked about the a la carte, which is somebody chooses to say, okay, I just want this piece now, but in
Yeah.
6 months I want that piece.
Yeah, yeah. So I think kind of we're having a full circle moment here. At the beginning, I said that one of the biggest kind of indicators of finding a coach and someone you would want to work with is, do you feel that click feeling, right? Do you feel that, oh, it feels good to work with this person?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is there are coaches who they collect their payment. You go through the coaching journey with them, and when it is done, you are done. They have kind of fulfilled that service to you. Um, and so, okay, on to the next one. Um, and then there are coaches, and I would put myself in this camp, not the camp I just described. And there are many others like me who are genuinely passionate about people. And through the coaching journey, we become invested in your growth, and we genuinely want to see you soar and thrive. And so I can't help myself but reach out to my clients to understand how they're going after they just had a call with a company that they've been dying to talk to the hiring manager for a particular role at, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm living through them in a weird way. I hope that doesn't sound strange, but yeah, I think a lot of coaches kind of have a similar personality to me, where we very much take to the individual and care to know how they're doing and progressing. And I think vice versa, right? Like, it's not always me initiating that text to you, Donal. Oftentimes it's you checking in on me, because the client, spoiler alert again, gets to learn a lot about the coach and the
Right.
coach's life on the journey too. And so, yeah, to kind of bring that full circle, if that relationship is really mutually beneficial, I think that the journey outside of just the 6 or the 12 week or the a la carte moment could potentially be lifelong. I hope that doesn't freak anyone out, but yeah.
God Almighty, to think that I would have you in my
Texting you
life for the
forever.
rest of my life. Oh my God, I gotta
Sorry.
delist you or block you or something. What a
Oh
burden that
gosh.
is. Yeah, I just find that it's just great that you continue to be in my corner, and so it's just kind of a resource is the wrong word to use. You just there's this powerful resource that even though you and I are not chatting every day, but I know that there's potentially going to be a text from you or I can text you, and
Yeah.
there's just this support system that you have established between
Yes.
us, and I'm sure you established with your other clients that I know you're there, and I
Yep.
know that you're in my corner, which is very comforting, particularly as I continue to journey through my unemployment.
Absolutely.
Um, this has been a fantastic conversation, and I'm delighted to be able to showcase who you are and your coaching practice. So the last question that I have for you is: if people are people's interests have been piqued, how can they find you? um, where can they sign up for perhaps a consultation? And is there anything that you're working on right now? I know that you've got other forms of coaching that you might want to highlight, but anyway, I just want to ask you, where do they find you? What else are you doing? What are you excited about? And yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So feel free to check out my website. I hope Donal will link it here, but it is thedailyagape.com. Agape, AGAPE. If you're not familiar with that word, you will be once you come to my page. You can email me. My email's on there as well. If you're into text, I think I also have my phone number on there. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. So my name's JT Heglund. You can search me on LinkedIn, connect with me, all that good stuff. Yeah, Donal, I will take a moment just to add on. So one-on-one career coaching, leadership coaching, however you want to call it, is what we talked largely about today. I also do versions of this, but more broad scale for teams. So, for any of you who are in positions where you would want to bring a leadership development workshop to a team at a company that maybe you join in the future, you could also think of me for that. Um, Fun fact, most people don't know this about me, but actually most do. I'm a mother of two daughters. I have a 1 and a 3-year-old. And so I've also taken a lot of this work and moved into the matrescence coaching space, helping specifically a more unique group of women that are heading back to work from maternity leave, because we know that after we have babies, we oftentimes shift in our identity or our priorities. So if you are a mother out there, soon to be mother, pregnant with a baby while you're in between jobs, I also work specifically with women in that way. Um, I'm an aspiring published author. I wrote a book and
Nice.
I'm shopping it around currently with different publishers, which is proving to be much more difficult than I thought. Um, and I'm working on kind of
So
side.
Oprah, if you're
Oh,
listening,
Oprah,
here's somebody for Super Soul Sunday right here.
please, yes, I need to get picked up. If any of you know any publishing, publishers, agents, things like that, ring me, dailyagape.com, find me. I'm just really passionate about creating a culture of love, developing
Hmm.
humans, and as the little JT would have said, what do you want to be when you grow up? Happy. I just want myself, and I think now, more importantly, I want everyone I meet and everyone I see on earth to feel truly happy. And so, coaching is a small way that I'm contributing to helping people get closer to that flavor of happiness, Donal, as you called it at the beginning. But yeah,
Well, thank you so much, and what a great callback to how we started this conversation, which is all about happiness, and you do spread happiness, both in terms of your personality, as well as what you're dedicating your life to. So, I couldn't be happier. And so, thank you for your willingness to participate in this podcast series and sharing your wisdom and your knowledge and giving people a flavor for the coaching world as they navigate career transition and unemployment. And this does not also lend itself to somebody who is actually unemployed. And in fact, you and I started our relationship about 3 or 4 months prior to me getting laid off, which was actually a godsend because we had established we were in a routine, and then I got laid off, and it didn't feel like, if we had entered into the relationship in the program after I laid off, maybe I would have felt like I was catching up. So I think there is something to be said for people who are still in jobs, who are trying to figure out, is this what I want to do, or I've got an inkling of what I want to do next. That is equally as beneficial as finding a coach when you are between jobs. So anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
um, well, thank you. Is there anything that we haven't covered before we wrap up? Are we good?
No, I just wanted to thank you. You've been so gracious in thanking me for being here. I wouldn't be here getting the opportunity to talk about what I do if it weren't for you, Donal. So thank you for creating the space for me to share and for, yeah, allowing me to bless your life and for you to truly bless mine.
Well,
It's an honor to know you, and yeah, you're a gift to all of us.
well, thank you, and my pleasure. So we'll see you soon. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.